Hello guys, it's Rachel with Pretty in Plants. I am so glad to see you. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. Today I am going to be talking about all things LECA and especially 7 things that kill your plants in LECA. But first, I am so excited about Bebby Plants. She totally knocked it out of the park. Yes, if you have not seen the Bebby Plants video, she has converted 99.9% of her plants into LECA, and it has been a huge thing for her. She was been a plant YouTuber for a while now, had tons of plants, and did the courageous thing of transplanting them all, taking them out of dirt and putting them all into LECA. And she is a nurse and has figured out some pretty good instructions for transferring your plants into LECA. Go check out her video. I'll link it down below. Loved Bebby Plants. I also want to mention something that she talked about. She kind of emulated everything that I do, but one thing that she does, and I cannot wait to try it on my next 15 plants, is she cleans off the roots, and she likes to use the sprayer on the end of a hose because that has enough pressure to really get the dirt out. She treats with Super Thrive or doesn't treat depending on how lazy she's feeling that day, and I kind of agree with that. There's days I don't use Super Thrive or hydrogen peroxide or any of that stuff. I just let the roots dry out. Then I put the dry roots into dry LECA. Now, the thing that Bebby does, and I really think she's onto something, is she does not water the plant. She puts the dry roots into the dry LECA, puts it on a shelf in a very sunny and humid and warm area, and then when the plant starts to show signs of being dry, then she waters the plant. But again, she does not leave any water in the reservoir for at least a month to 6 weeks. Number 2 was, I had told someone on Instagram that I have a huge Ficus lyrata tree. I'm going to transfer another one. It's going to be a really big project. I am not doing that today because I'm having trouble. Pots are kind of an issue for me when I go really big. I found one big pot, and I used it for my other ficus because I repotted it. It needed a larger pot. And then I couldn't find another one in the entire city of San Antonio. Having said that, I want to mention, and I'm gonna be testing it for myself and then I will kind of give you all the results, but fabric pots are really big right now, and they're in abundance and they're in every size and they're cheap. And I love the idea of a fabric pot because it's so breathable, and you would just set it. If I have a plant in a fabric pot, I can just set it in a thing in the bottom. It's the air circulation is what I'm kind of excited about with the idea of a fabric pot. So I actually ordered the right size fabric pot for my ficus tree. And we'll see how that does in a fabric pot. I'm gonna do fabric pot, LECA, and then I already got a pretty big saucer to go underneath it for when I water it. So I will keep y'all posted on that. Ficus bambino, it is a miniature ficus. If you find these, they're delicious, they're cute, and I love them because they are great for apartments and small spaces. I feel like it did not. Okay, water roots. It's starting to develop water roots, and I can tell if you have a glass jar, when the LECA is pressing against the jar, if there's dampness inside, you can see a little like bing, you can see a little wetness where it's pressing. So this ficus, when I first repotted it, its leaves drooped for about 3 or 4 days, and it did have a couple of leaves fall off. I also did one in one of my Easy Grow Hydro pots. Is you want them to really dry out between, and a lot of times they'll tell you when they're really dry because their leaves will start to droop a little bit. But I will not water this for another week, and I am still just watering the LECA, not leaving any water in the reservoir. That is why I do a hole on the side of glass, is so I can dump out the water without having to turn this upside down. Okay, so let's get to it. 7 reasons why your plant might be dying or die in LECA. And number 7, pests. This is a joke. There are no pests in LECA. I occasionally have a pest, but really, it's such a short moment in time. It's such a blip. I would say 99.9% of the time there are no pests in LECA. You will not have spider mites unless your plants are just so dry. You will not have mealy bugs and all that stuff. I do check my Hoya compacta. Sometimes they get a little fluffies in them, but the rest of the plants, I have not had any issues. Number 6 reason, too high in the pot. If you plant your, this is especially true with pothos. If you plant them too high in the pot, their roots aren't, like the water and the roots are just not having a good relationship, and sometimes they will start to fail dramatically. You can take them out of the pot, deal with root rot, spritz them with hydrogen peroxide, put them down lower in the pot, and you should have success after that. Number 5, overwatering at the beginning. Now, I have had some nail biting moments, and I think Bebby is onto something. Maybe what the deal is let your plant dry out overnight. If necessary, put it into dry LECA and don't water it until you start to see a little droop, and then you know for sure it needs to be watered. The thing about me is I let the plant dry out, put it in dry LECA, then I water it, and then I don't know, is the problem like water problem or is the problem dryness? So I love Bebby's idea of just keeping those roots dry until bam, it tells you, and now you know, okay, it needs to be watered. Number 4, too much dirt in the roots. I try to get as much dirt out as possible, and I understand there are some plants that this is really difficult with. But if I had some issues with one of my big ficus, and it's been a constant issue. I finally just took it out of the LECA to check on it, and there was quite a bit of dirt still in that ficus tree. I couldn't physically get the dirt out. Well, that one was so root bound and so attached to the dirt. That was when I did it early on. Probably now I would have soaked it even overnight to soften everything, and put some magnesium in the water. But too much dirt in the roots will affect sometimes the plant rotting a little bit more than it should, and it can go south. Not enough light is number 3. Not enough light, not enough humidity, not enough warmth. When you first put your plant in LECA, you want to give it a really nice light, really nice humidity. It doesn't have to be the spot it's going to end up in, but the first 4 weeks, put it in your plant nursery, whatever nursery that is, and it will do better, and it will shoot out water roots much faster. The goal is the first 4 weeks, you're transferring your plant, and the goal is you want it to push out these nice water roots, these nice white roots that are adapting to the water culture. Number 2 reason that plants die in LECA is too much fertilizer, and especially too much fertilizer at the beginning. There are some plants that they really don't want nutrient water for 6 to 8 weeks. For sure, just plain water at the beginning. Too much fertilizer, you can fry that plant so fast. And actually that was another thing my big ficus had a problem with. It was going great. I transferred it in LECA. The leaves were fine. There was no issues. I let it dry out for 3 weeks. I dumped fertilizer water or nutrient water on top, and the problems began from them. And that was 6 months ago. So it's gotten a lot of new growth, but still had some issues, and I think the fertilizer water kind of dumping that on those roots shocked them, and it's taken a long time to recover. Now that was a very large plant, but just word to the wise, be soft and respectful of your plant. Wait at least 4 weeks to 6 weeks until you know it's good and ready to add the nutrient water. And number one reason for your plant dying in LECA is not enough oxygen to the roots and the air circulation not drying out enough between waterings. Sometimes the plant is actually kind of doing okay, and then you're like, ooh, you're doing great, and you need more water, and you dump more water on, and it can start to actually suffocate the roots. The roots need oxygen. That is why you're putting it into LECA. You want that airflow between the pebbles, and so you're going to water your plant, and then you're going to let it completely dry out and let some oxygen get to those roots, and let those roots stimulate themselves to grow out, looking for more water before you add more water. Oxygen to the roots is an issue. If you're seeing mold or fungus, any furries growing on the side of your pot, it just was a little too much water at the beginning, and there's not enough oxygen in there. So those are my 7 reasons. It's really 6, but 6 reasons why your plant may be perishing in LECA. You can always, and should always, if you can, take off a little cutting. If it looks like it's about to go south, or it could go south, cut it off, put a piece in water, or take the whole thing out, get those rotten roots off, and put it into just plain water, let more roots grow out, try again, or let it dry out, hydrogen peroxide to kill any bacteria that may have started the root rot, and then try again, but keep your rules in the back of your mind. Don't overwater it. So I hope you all enjoyed this show. Can't wait to see you next time. Don't forget to check me out on Instagram. All of my little in-between things that I do are on there. And then also, please comment down below if you have had plants die in LECA and you suspect it was something other than these 7 items. I would love to know. Can't wait to see y'all next time. Thanks. Love you. Bye-bye. You made it inside. What are you doing?